I thought I had the perfect marriage, until I read the text meant for someone else. It was a Friday afternoon, and the house smelled like cinnamon from the banana bread I had just pulled out of the oven. It was the kind of ordinary moment I used to cherish, simple, warm, familiar. My husband, Mark, was on his way home from a team-building weekend with work, and our kids, Chloe and Tyler, were upstairs arguing over whose turn it was with the iPad. The weekend had felt strange from the beginning. Mark never liked these work retreats. He always said they were a waste of time, corporate fluff. But this time, he seemed eager. Too eager. I shrugged it off. Maybe he just needed the break. After all, we'd been through a rough patch lately. My mom had surgery last month, and I'd been back and forth to her place in Michigan, leaving Mark to juggle the kids and his demanding job at the tech firm in downtown Raleigh. The door creaked open around 5:30 p.m., and Mark stepped in with a tired smile and a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. "Hey, babe," he said, leaning in to kiss me. I smiled. "Welcome home. How was the retreat?" "Fine. Exhausting. I could use some of that banana bread." I handed him a warm slice, trying not to stare too hard, not to read into anything. He seemed normal. Tired, maybe. A little distracted. But that could have been the long drive back. I didn't expect what happened next. Later that evening, while Mark was in the shower, his phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I never snooped, I respected his privacy. But the screen lit up, and the message preview stopped me cold. "Miss you already." That night, unforgettable. I froze. My heart started pounding so loud I was sure Chloe could hear it upstairs. I picked up the phone. It was a number I didn't recognize. No name. Just that message, and a thread full of flirtatious texts, emojis, and plans that went far beyond team building. The woman's name was Rachel, and from what I could piece together, she worked at his company. She was in marketing. I felt dizzy. Like the floor had dropped beneath me. When Mark came out of the shower, I was sitting at the kitchen table, his phone in my hand. His face changed the second he saw me. He didn't ask what I was doing. He didn't even try to pretend. "I can explain," he said quickly, wrapping a towel tighter around his waist. I looked at him, my voice trembling. "You don't need to." Rachel already did. There was a long, horrible silence. Then he sat down across from me, water dripping from his hair. "It was a mistake," he started. "It wasn't supposed to happen." "How long?" I asked. He hesitated. 2 months. I flinched. So it wasn't just a one-time thing. "No," he admitted. "But, it's over now." I couldn't speak. I stood up, trying to steady myself. The air felt thick and suffocating. I needed to get out. "I'm taking the kids to my mom's for the weekend," I said. "I need time to think." By Sunday night, I had cried more than I had in the past 5 years. My mom, bless her heart, tried to comfort me, but I could see the disappointment in her eyes. She had always liked Mark. We all did. Chloe asked, "Why isn't Daddy coming with us?" And I didn't know what to say. I just told her he had to work. Back in Raleigh, Mark kept calling. Texting. Apologizing. Swearing it was meaningless. That it was just a phase, that he was confused and burned out. But none of those words erased the images burned into my brain from that text thread. On Monday morning, I sat in my parked car outside our house, unsure whether to go in or drive away again. That's when my best friend, Lena, called. "You okay?" she asked gently. I hesitated. No. Not even close. I told her everything. About Rachel. About the messages. About Mark's pathetic attempt to explain. She was silent for a while, then said, "I hate to say this, but I'm not that surprised." I blinked. "What do you mean?" I didn't want to interfere. But I saw them once. At a bar downtown. A month ago. I thought it was a work thing, but the way they looked at each other. My stomach dropped. You should have told me, I whispered. I didn't want to be wrong, she said. And I wasn't sure. I'm sorry, Liv. That night, I finally confronted Mark. I told him I wanted him out of the house, at least until I figured out what I wanted. He didn't argue. He just nodded, packed a bag, and left. I tried to be strong. For the kids. For myself. But every time I heard the door creak, I half expected it to be him, coming back to say it was all a nightmare, that he'd been brainwashed and none of it was real. Instead, something else happened. A week later, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a folded piece of paper, and a photo. It was Mark and Rachel. In a hotel lobby. Hugging. On the back of the photo, written in sharp black ink. Ask him what really happened that weekend. You deserve the truth. I stared at the photo for what felt like hours. It was them. Mark and Rachel. Standing close in the lobby of the Sheraton downtown. His hand was on her lower back. Her head tilted just slightly toward his shoulder. It wasn't just a goodbye hug. It was intimate. Familiar. I turned the photo over again. Ask him what really happened that weekend. You deserve the truth. The message wasn't signed. The handwriting was messy, rushed, like someone had written it while their hands were shaking. Mine were too. I slipped the photo back in the envelope and shoved it into the back of my nightstand drawer before the kids could see anything. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I wasn't just hurt anymore, I was angry. Someone out there knew something I didn't. And they wanted me to dig deeper. The next morning, I asked Mark to come by after dropping off the kids at school. I didn't tell him about the photo. Not yet. When he walked in, he looked like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were bloodshot, his shirt wrinkled. He looked small. Like someone who'd been caught in a lie and didn't know how to claw his way back. You said you'd tell me everything, I said, arms folded. I did, he said softly. I told you it was a mistake. It's over. Then explain this. I slid the photo across the table. He paled. For a split second, I saw something, fear? Guilt? But it disappeared as quickly as it came. Where did you get this? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Someone mailed it to me. No name. Just a warning. So I'm asking you again, Mark. What really happened that weekend? He didn't speak right away. His jaw tensed, and I could see the war waging behind his eyes. Then he exhaled. It wasn't just me and Rachel. It was a whole group from work. We went out Friday night. Drinks got out of hand. Rachel and I, he paused, looking away. We didn't just hook up. We got caught. Caught? By the company's HR director, he admitted. They were staying in the same hotel for another event. She saw us leaving Rachel's room Saturday morning. I felt sick. So this wasn't just a private mistake. People at your job know? He nodded, ashamed. They pulled us into separate meetings that afternoon. HR said if we didn't self-report the relationship, we'd be violating company policy. Rachel got a formal warning. I offered to resign, but they asked me to stay quiet. It would have looked worse for them. I leaned back in my chair, trying to process everything. So your little affair wasn't just emotional betrayal. It could have cost you your job. He nodded again. I was scared. I thought I could hide it, pretend it never happened. But I see now how stupid that was. My voice cracked. You let me believe it was a random weekend fling. But you had a relationship with her. People saw it. You were willing to lie just to protect your reputation? I didn't want to lose you. I laughed bitterly. You already did. After he left, I sat on the kitchen floor with a cup of tea and no idea what to feel. Every time I thought I had hit the bottom, I fell further. And now I had no idea who had sent me the photo, or why. That evening, Lena came by with Chinese takeout and her usual no-nonsense attitude. "Okay, what's the damage this time?" she asked, flopping on the couch. I showed her the photo. She blinked. "Holy, where'd this come from?" "I don't know. It was in my mailbox. No return address. Just that note." Lena squinted at the handwriting. "Wait a second." She pulled out her phone and scrolled for a moment. Then she held it out. There, on her screen, was a social media post from a woman named Amy Carter. She worked in Mark's HR department. A family vacation pic, with the same loopy cursive in the caption. "You think it's her?" I asked. Lena raised an eyebrow. "I mean, she had motive. If she caught them and the company told her to stay quiet, maybe she's trying to warn you without blowing her cover." It made sense. And it made me furious. How many people knew before I did? How many whispered in hallways while I was at home baking banana bread? That night, I sat down with Chloe and Tyler. I didn't want to lie to them anymore. "Daddy and I are taking some time apart," I said gently. "It doesn't mean we don't love you. We just need space to figure things out." Chloe's eyes welled with tears. "Are you getting divorced?" "I don't know yet," I said honestly. Tyler, always the quieter one, just nodded. "Can we still see him?" "Of course," I said, hugging them both. "No matter what happens, he's still your dad. And I'll always be your mom." The following afternoon, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. I answered cautiously. "Hello? Hi, is this Olivia Mitchell?" "Yes." "Who's calling?" "It's Amy. Amy Carter. From Lanton Tech." My breath caught. "I'm sorry to reach out like this," she said quickly. "But I sent you that photo." "Why?" I asked, voice shaking. "Because I couldn't watch you being lied to anymore. I have 2 daughters. If my husband ever did what Mark did, I'd want someone to tell me the truth." "Thank you," I whispered. "I also thought you should know. Rachel's been transferred." Quietly. "They moved her to the Chicago office. She's out of his day-to-day. And Mark? He's on probation. If anything like this happens again, he's gone." I felt cold. "So they're protecting him. They're protecting the company. But I'm protecting you." Before I could respond, she added, "One more thing. Rachel didn't go after Mark. It was the other way around. He was the one who started it." The line went dead. I sat in silence for a long time. Her words echoed louder than the dial tone. Mark had pursued her. He made the first move. All this time, I had pictured him as someone who got caught in a moment of weakness, but he had chosen this. He chose her. Over me. Over our kids. Over the life we built. That weekend, I made a decision. I wasn't going to wait around for another apology. I wasn't going to let guilt manipulate me. I had spent the last 13 years building a home, raising our children, loving a man who clearly didn't love me back in the same way. It was time to reclaim my life. On Monday, I called a divorce attorney. Filing for divorce didn't feel like freedom. Not right away. It felt like grief. The morning I signed the papers at the attorney's office, my hands shook so hard I could barely hold the pen. My wedding ring, which I hadn't taken off since the day Mark slipped it onto my finger in a vineyard just outside of Napa, lay in a tiny jewelry box in my purse. I didn't have the heart to throw it away. Not yet. My attorney, Dana, slid the documents across the table. "You're doing the right thing, Olivia," she said gently. "You deserve peace." Peace. It sounded like a foreign language. But I nodded, wiped my eyes, and signed. The next few weeks were a blur of logistics, meetings with lawyers, dividing assets, figuring out custody schedules for the kids. Mark didn't fight me. Maybe he was too ashamed. Maybe he just wanted to move on. I didn't ask. And he didn't offer anything beyond the basics. We only communicated through email or quick exchanges during pickups and drop-offs. He stopped trying to win me back. And oddly enough, that hurt more than anything. One Saturday morning, Chloe and Tyler were with Mark for the weekend, and the house was still. Too still. I wandered into the kitchen to make coffee, only to be startled by a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, I froze. "Hi. Olivia." It was Rachel. She looked different. Her usually perfect hair was pulled into a messy bun, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She was holding a small brown envelope and a coffee in a cardboard tray. I couldn't speak. I know I shouldn't be here," she said quickly. "But, can I come in for just 5 minutes?" I hesitated. Every cell in my body screamed no. But I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, almost timidly, and sat at the kitchen island like she didn't know where to put her hands. "I got transferred," she said quietly. "Chicago. They told me it was for restructuring, but we both know why." I folded my arms. "So? What do you want from me?" She slid the envelope across the counter. "This is my resignation letter. Effective immediately. I'm done with the company. And with Mark." I frowned. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I need to say something that no one said to you yet," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry." I stared at her, unsure if I wanted to laugh or scream. She continued. "I never meant for it to happen. Mark and we started talking after a project meeting. He said you were distant. That your marriage had turned cold. I believed him. I didn't think I was hurting anyone." I clenched my jaw. Because it was easier not to look too closely. She nodded, tears in her eyes. "Exactly. And now that you've lost your job and your reputation, you feel bad." She didn't deny it. "I don't want pity, Olivia," she whispered. "I want you to know. I'm walking away. From everything. So you can heal without me haunting the background." I didn't thank her. But I nodded, once. That was enough. She stood up, placed the coffee in front of me, and walked to the door. "Goodbye, Olivia." I dumped the coffee in the sink. Forgiveness wasn't in the air that day. But something shifted. I didn't feel small anymore. I didn't feel powerless. I felt clean. Later that week, Lena and I met at a small cafe on Main Street. She pushed a plate of lemon bars toward me and gave me a look. "I heard you saw the she-devil," she said. I smirked. "How do you always know everything?" She shrugged. "I have sources." And also, Rachel posted a long, self-pitying message on LinkedIn about starting over. Gag. I laughed for the first time in days. "She apologized," I said quietly. "Resigned from the company. Said she was done with Mark." Lena raised an eyebrow. "And do you believe her?" I took a sip of my coffee. "I believe she believes it. That's enough for now." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I'm proud of you, Liv. I know how hard this is." "Hard doesn't even cover it," I admitted. "But I'm getting there." Then she grinned. "So, when are we setting up your dating app profile?" I choked on my coffee. "Absolutely not. Come on. Just for fun. Swipe a little. Remind yourself you're still hot." I rolled my eyes. "Maybe after the divorce is finalized. And after I relearn how to trust a man." She nodded. "Fair. But just so you know, I'm making your profile either way." That night, I curled up on the couch with a blanket and one of those home renovation reality shows. It was peaceful. Quiet. Mine. Until the doorbell rang. I checked the clock. 8:42 p.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. Again. When I opened the door, my heart dropped. Mark stood there, drenched from the rain, holding a small box. I stared at him. "What are you doing here?" He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His voice was hoarse. "I need to talk to you." "I thought we said everything we needed to say." "I know. But you need to hear this." He stepped inside before I could stop him. He placed the box on the coffee table and sat down, soaked jeans and all. I didn't sit. He opened the box. Inside were dozens of small folded pieces of paper. "What is this?" "They're letters," he said. "Every night since you found out. I've written one. I didn't send them because I didn't think I had the right. But I need you to have them now." I didn't move. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect kindness. But I need you to know. I've never stopped loving you. I just lost myself. Somewhere along the way. I blinked back tears. "And you found yourself in someone else's hotel room." He nodded, ashamed. "I won't ask you to take me back. I just needed you to know that you were never the problem. You were always enough. I was the one who wasn't." He stood, turned toward the door, then paused. "I'll go. I just thought you should hear it from me. Not a letter. Not a lawyer. Me." He walked out, and I didn't stop him. But the box sat there on my table for a long time. I didn't open it that night. But I didn't throw it away either. I stared at the box of letters for 2 days. It sat there on my coffee table like a ghost from another life, one I wasn't sure I was ready to revisit. But something about Mark's voice that night had sounded different. Not desperate. Not manipulative. Just real. So I finally opened the first one. "Olivia. I know you won't read this. Maybe you never should. But I need to say it anyway. I miss the way you hum when you're doing the dishes. I miss the way your hair smells like coconut when you hug me goodnight. I miss how you always know when something's off with the kids before they say a word. I was stupid. I got scared. And I convinced myself that what I was missing was excitement, but what I really lost was the safest place I've ever had. I didn't make it past the 3rd letter before I had to put them away. Not because I was angry. Because I wasn't. And that scared me more than anything. The official divorce hearing was on a gray Thursday morning in early March. Mark and I sat on opposite sides of a long, sterile courtroom. We didn't speak. Just nodded politely. When the judge signed the papers, I felt a strange release. Not joy. Not grief. Just peace. We walked outside into the parking lot, and for the first time in months, we stood face to face without armor. He was the first to speak. "Thank you for not destroying me," he said softly. "I wouldn't have blamed you if you had." I offered a small, tired smile. "I didn't need to. You did that to yourself." He nodded slowly. "Take care of them," I said. "They still need their father." "I will. I promise." He turned to walk away, then looked back. "You were always the best part of my life." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. In the weeks that followed, I started building a life that was mine, truly mine. I painted the living room the soft sage color I always loved, but Mark had said was too dull. I donated half our old furniture and bought cozy, second-hand pieces that made the house feel like a home again. The kids adjusted, slowly but steadily. We made pizza on Friday nights. We danced in the living room to Taylor Swift. We laughed more than we cried. And one morning, as I walked past my hallway mirror, I caught my reflection and didn't flinch. I was still me. Maybe even more me than before. Then one afternoon, while I was reorganizing the bookshelf, I got a text. From a number I didn't recognize. Hey. This is Noah. I know this might be strange, but I was wondering if you'd like to grab coffee sometime. No pressure. Just two people who've been through hell, and might understand each other better than most. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. Noah was Lena's brother. The single dad who'd gone through his own messy divorce. We'd met briefly at Lena's house a few times. There was an ease about him, the kind of quiet strength that didn't try too hard. I smiled. Coffee sounds nice. Our first date was simple, a small cafe near the lake, mismatched chairs, lots of sunshine. We talked for hours, about our kids, about the things we lost, about the strange way pain can sometimes become a doorway. There was no rush. No pressure. Just two people, finding their way. After that, we saw each other once a week. Then twice. Then more. The kids loved him. Chloe said he smelled like pancakes and safety. Tyler liked that he played catch without dad jokes. I liked that he listened more than he talked. That he never once asked me about Mark, but always remembered how I took my coffee. One night, as we sat on the porch with glasses of wine, he reached for my hand. I know I'm not what you had in mind when you imagined starting over, he said with a grin. No, I smiled back. You're better. Mark and I kept things civil. We never became friends, and that was okay. He started seeing someone new. A teacher. She seemed kind. I wished him well. One evening, after Chloe's spring recital, he walked over as I packed up her costume. She looks so much like you, he said, watching her twirl on the sidewalk. She has your stubborn streak, I replied, smirking. We stood in silence for a moment. I read the letters, I finally said. He looked at me, surprised. They were honest. Thank you for that. I meant every word. I know. I zipped up the costume bag. But you were right that night. Closure doesn't come from apologies or explanations. It doesn't? No, I said softly. It comes when you stop waiting for someone else to heal you, and you start doing it yourself. He nodded, eyes a little glassy. And that was the last real conversation we ever had. Months later, on a warm Saturday morning, Noah and I took the kids to the beach. They built sandcastles while we lounged on blankets, his arm around my shoulder, the sound of the waves reminding me that life keeps going, even when it falls apart. Noah leaned over and whispered, "You okay?" I looked around. At the kids. At the sunlight. At him. Yeah, I said. I really am. And for the first time in a long time I wasn't pretending.